Let's take a fascinating journey back in time, exploring a rich tapestry of family history and early 20th century life in Oregon. Our story comes from Dorothy's childhood memories, a memorable account researched by Dorothy's grandson, Scott Hawley, sourced from a 1987 videotaped interview with her grandson, David Nuss. It offers us a vivid first-hand recollection of Dorothy's formative years and her family's remarkable pioneering spirit. Let's start with both sets of Dorothy's paternal great-grandparents, who emigrated to the Oregon Territory in covered wagons, traversing the infamous Barlow Road. Built in 1846, this road was the final, and most harrowing, 100-mile overland segment of the nearly 2,000-mile Oregon Trail. It proved a crucial route, allowing covered wagons to cross the formidable Cascade Range, a feat previously almost impossible for travelers without it. John Warren Dobbins, the first, born in 1794, and his wife, Drusilla, joined by their adult children, arrived from Virginia around 1849 by wagon train. Just a couple of years earlier, in 1847, the young couple of David and Susan Cloninger from Missouri crossed the plains by ox team, arriving in the Oregon Territory in 1848. Notably, once Susan reached the Oregon Territory, the registered birth of her daughter Rebecca, who would later become Dorothy's grandmother, earned Rebecca the distinction of being the first white child born in the newly formed Columbia County. Both families applied to the Donation Land Claim Act, an instrumental piece of legislation offering 320 acres to unmarried white male citizens, and a generous 640 acres to married couples arriving in the Oregon Territory by 1850. In 1873, John and Drusilla Dobbins received their land patent for 527 acres in Hillsboro. Dorothy's other paternal great-grandparents, David and Susan Cloninger, received 640 acres in 1867, taking an odd-shaped claim about 2 miles north of Scappoose. 16 years later, the Astorian newspaper reported that Cloninger was a wealthy farmer well known along the Columbia River. Mr. Cloninger liked to deal in land. He bought and sold hundreds of acres of land along the river channel that eventually became dairy farms. Later, where the railroad crossed the wagon road on his farm, it was called Cloninger's Crossing. Moving forward a generation, Dorothy's paternal grandfather, John Dobbins II, born in 1825, was a member of the Grange, a secret society for farmers, modeled heavily after Freemasonry. In 1870, John married the youthful Rebecca Jane Cloninger, who was 29 years his junior. Their son, Dorothy's future father, John Dobbins III, was born in 1872. Sadly, just 2 years later, Dorothy's future father was without a father of his own, as his birth father passed away at the age of 49. When John was 4 years old, his mother, Rebecca, remarried to Philip Austin Frakes, and together their family flourished, while cultivating an incredibly successful farm. In 1883, Philip Frakes established the Lakeside Stock Farm, which evolved into a prominent dairy operation, celebrated for its prize-winning Holstein cattle, situated on the Multnomah Channel near Scappoose. Mr. Frakes became quite a pioneer in the dairy industry, notably shipping the first Holstein Friesian cows to Oregon. By 1905, he owned more than half of all the Holsteins west of the Mississippi River. He was even elected as a commissioner for Columbia County. Dorothy recalled always spending 2 weeks of her summer vacation with these grandparents. It was a significant occasion to visit the bustling farm. It was a large dairy operation where her grandmother employed a cook to prepare big meals for the hired help. They'd separate the milk and ship all the cream to a large restaurant in Portland by boat. A stern wheeler would come by daily, picking up the milk and delivering the paper and mail. Sometimes, Dorothy's family would even travel by boat from Portland to Scappoose for their visits, which she found very enjoyable. The house itself was distinctive, a big white structure with an expansive front porch, built up high because the river flooded every year. The living quarters were elevated to avoid the water, though the basement would flood. Each year, they'd point out the high water mark in the basement. The house was right on the river's edge, with steps leading down to a dock. They even had lakes behind the house, where they'd go boating and fishing for catfish. Thus, the farm's name, Lakeside Stock Farm. Dorothy spent the other 2 weeks of summer vacation with her maternal grandparents, the Lathams. Henry and Catherine Latham were born in the East in 1850s. They made their way to Oregon by train, settling northeast of Hillsboro in 1890. Henry Latham was a man of many talents. He worked as a carpenter, built railroad bridges and several houses, with one still standing today between Beaverton and Hillsboro. Beyond carpentry, he was a member of both the Pythian Lodge for over 30 years and the Odd Fellows Lodge, which were prominent fraternal orders and secret societies of the era. Records from 1902 in the Hillsboro Argus reported on Henry Latham's thriving business at his Perrydale flouring mills. Later, from 1915 to 1917, Dorothy's grandparents owned the Gervais flour mill. At one point, they even had a skating rink. Dorothy vividly recalled spending summers at Gervais, traveling there by train from Portland, which was a significant mode of transportation then. Later in life, after Dorothy's parents moved from Portland to Tobias, an area nestled between Beaverton and Hillsboro, her Latham grandparents built a house right next door. This became their retirement home where they lived out their days. Dorothy remembered her grandpa Latham tending a sizable strawberry patch. With her father being a railroad man, often away, her grandfather also took on the responsibility of caring for their cow and chickens, working around the property. They lived a self-sufficient life, with their own garden and walnut trees. Dorothy mused that owning their home and growing their food meant it didn't take much money to exist in those days. Now, turning to Dorothy's immediate family, her parents. Dorothy believed her mother, Bernice, and father, John, probably met in Hillsboro, as her mother's family lived there. Before her marriage, Bernice was a dressmaker by trade. John was a conductor for the Southern Pacific Railroad. They married in Portland on March 25, 1903, and established their first home on Clay Street, close to the Union Depot for her father's work. Dorothy has clear memories of her dad. He'd be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time on what they called a run, perhaps from Portland to Roseburg. His return was always a big occasion. He was very good-natured and played a lot with Dorothy and her sister, particularly active games like hide-and-seek. She recalls a wood lift in one house, a sort of dumbwaiter, where she and her sister would get in the basement, and her dad would wind them up to the kitchen. On payday, he'd bring home cash, mostly $20 gold pieces, and a big bag of his favorite candy, Divinity. Dorothy says he was always good-natured, and that her mother handled most of the disciplining, as her dad was away for work so often. Dorothy's mother, Bernice, was exceptionally capable and busy. She was effectively an architect, drawing the plans for 6 different homes her family built over the years. Each design was unique, and she'd always improve on the last. With her own father being a carpenter, Bernice knew enough about the trade to supervise the construction, making sure everything was done correctly. She was also very artistic, engaging in craft work, painting, including china painting, knitting, crocheting, and basket making. Although she never worked outside the home, she was very active, especially as a club woman and with the Red Cross during the war, holding sewing classes and making clothes for the organization. She also made all her family's clothes, from undergarments to coats and hats. Dorothy herself was born in Portland, Oregon, on March 21st, 1906, in a house on Ferry Street. She jokes that she got off to a good start, weighing 10 pounds at birth, and had been big ever since. She had one sister, Lola, who was 2 years older. Her dad always called Dorothy Babe, even into her married life. For him, she remained his baby. Dorothy had a very happy childhood, filled with fun memories thanks to her parents. Dorothy spent her early years attending Thompson Grade School. About 8 or 10 blocks from their home, her grandfather, Latham, built in the Portland's Overlook district. Most of the time, Dorothy would skate back and forth to school, wearing out a lot of skates. Her parents built another Portland home when she started high school. She skipped some grades along the way, so she started Jefferson High School at just 12 years old. She felt that being so young made high school overwhelming, and her school years were rather uneventful, as she didn't partake in the social activities like dancing and parties that older students enjoyed, though she did go to football games. Later, her parents decided to move out of the city, as her dad always wanted some acreage. They relocated to Tobias, between Beaverton and Hillsborough, where Dorothy spent her last year at Hillsborough High School, commuting by red electric train. At the new acreage, her social life revolved around their small church, where young people met for parties, plays, ice cream socials, and games. She made many lasting friends there with whom she still kept in contact, sharing dinners together into her 80s. After graduating high school at just barely 16, Dorothy wasn't ready for college, despite her mother's encouragement. She decided to attend business college for 9 months, which would have made her 17. Her first job was at Gunderson Brothers in Portland, a firm that sold and serviced wire wheels for cars. She worked there for about a year, saving enough money to start college. Around 1923, she and her sister Lola attended Oregon Agricultural College, known now as Oregon State University. After a year there, they returned home. Dorothy then took a job in the Office of the Neighbors of Woodcraft, a fraternal lodge that provided insurance for its members. After about a year, she moved to a music company office, earning a raise to $75 a month, which she considered a lot of money at the time. It was while commuting to this music company job on the Southern Pacific red electric commuter train to Portland that she met her future husband, Roger. Roger himself provided a supplemental account of their meeting. He lived on a small acreage on Farmington Road west of Beaverton and walked daily to Archer Station to take the red electric to his job in Portland. He remembered noticing a new house being built near Beaverton, which was distinctively Spanish stucco with white walls, a red tile roof, and a sign above the door reading, "Done Movin'." This house belonged to the conductor of their red electric train, who, after years of moving due to his railroad career, was finally done movin' and ready for this charming retirement home. Roger also recalled a clever fox terrier from Dun Movin' that would cross the highway to retrieve the evening newspaper thrown from the train. One evening, Roger found himself seated behind Dorothy and her sister on the train. He just happened to overhear their conversation about planning a party to celebrate the completion of the new house. As a considerate gentleman, He volunteered to help with the decorating, an offer they kindly accepted. This charming encounter led to their marriage in Reedsville, Oregon, on September 2nd, 1927. Dorothy and Roger went on to raise 5 children, leaving behind a legacy of 18 grandchildren and 36 great-grandchildren. Dorothy's childhood memories provide a clear window into early 20th century Oregon life, marked by resilience, enterprise, and a strong sense of community. Our thanks again to Scott Hawley for transcribing and researching these invaluable memories, and to David Nuss for conducting the original interview, preserving this rich oral history for us all.